Hello everybody, this is Dr. Watterson. I am bringing you a screencast to talk about some gradebook magic in D2L. So here we have a course. This is a course from a few years ago, and I can play around in it and it won't change anything that's currently happening. So I just wanted to highlight a few gradebook things for you. So here in the orange toolbar, I'm just going to simply go to my gradebook by clicking on grades. And as you can see in my gradebook, I have categories of assignments. I have tests, I have what I call applications, and then I have something I call response papers. Ideally, you would build your gradebook at the beginning of a semester, and you have all the details laid out of all the assignments that you intend to do. You may not have all the details of what exactly these things entail, but you know that you're going to have an assignment. So I have my assignments and I have them in groups, and if you need a set of instructions or a screencast to help you create gradebooks, I know that we have those, and myself or Hannah Fishburne would be happy to assist you. But at this point, I'm just giving you some tips on how to connect your gradebook items to your intended assessments. In this course, I have 3 course objectives, and very conveniently, I have 3 categories of assignments. And so what I want to do is connect the items in the categories to the course objective. But here's a problem. In the way that D2L works, you can only connect a single gradebook item to a course objective. In this case, I want all my tests to sum together to connect to my gradebook item, which refers to content knowledge. So I need to find a way of doing that. So here I'm just going to demonstrate one of the methods that works really well. I'm going to create a new gradebook item by clicking on the blue button up here where it says new. I'm going to create a new item. And once you click on that, you have some choices here. I'm going to do a calculated gradebook item, and this will allow me to sum a user's grades across multiple items. So I'm clicking on the word calculated. And just like you may have created any other gradebook item, you're going to give it a name. I'm just going to call it test total. And every once in a while I have extra credits on my tests, and so I'm going to say sure, it can exceed the sum that is the stated sum of each item. So once I've created my item, I've given it a name, I'm coming down here and I can choose whatever I want to go in there. And because I have these categories already, I'm just choosing tests, and it highlights all of them for me. I could have chosen 2 of them, I could have chosen 3 of them, I could have chosen any combination of items in here that goes into how am I assessing course objective. In this case, it's course objective number 2. I want all of my tests to sum together to go for course objective number 2. So once I've clicked what I want, I simply save it and close it. And I'm scrolling down here, and here is my new gradebook item called test total. Now the first thing I'm going to do with that is edit the gradebook item. And now I have some control over what's in there. I'm going to go to the Restrictions tab, and I'm going to tell it to hide this gradebook item. That way the students don't see it as an additional assignment or an additional task they need to work on. They're just simply not seeing it. So at this point I'm going to save and close again, just to show you what this looks like. So it gives you this little icon. It looks like a closed eye, just to be cute. So now I am going to do some other work on that item. Again, I'm doing the drop down arrow there. I'm going to edit the grade item. So I'm right back to where I was, and I have all these things, and it's showing me this is what it's got. I'm going to go over here to the Objectives tab. This is where I am connecting that gradebook item to the course objectives. Right now, there is no learning objective or course objective connected to this thing called tests. So I'm going to click the button here called Associate the Learning Objectives, and I should have my course listed here with this cute blue triangle and a drop-down list. I expand it out and I see my 3 objectives in this course. The one I'm going for here is number 2, so I'm clicking on number 2 and I'm clicking on Add and Select. So now that I see I have this is the course objective, and now I have to go to the small drop-down arrow off on the right. I'm going to open that up and I'm going to click on Add Assessment. What I'm doing here is instructing D2L what kind of an assessment is it. And you have 2 choices. You have numeric and you have rubric. Probably 90 to 95% of us are using numeric. I am entering a number-based score into the gradebook. It defaults to numeric. Most of us can just go on the default. By way of explanation, rubric means there is a rubric and it is built in to the D2L environment. If you have a rubric that you use to score whatever assignment you've got, if it's not built into D2L and you're not clicking on it in the D2L system, it's not a rubric as far as D2L is concerned. You may have a rubric that's on a piece of paper, you have it on your desk, maybe even posted in D2L to explain how you're grading things. But if it's not built into the D2L environment, don't click rubric. Go ahead and default to numeric. And so yes, you need to tell it that this is a required activity. And now you have this item called threshold. This is where you're setting the grade parameter. What is the lowest grade on whatever your assignment is that you will use to say the student has accomplished the objective. They have met the expectations. My default for all of my grades is using greater than or equal to 70%. And so I would just type here in the percentage. So whatever the point schedule for that item is, I'm saying they must achieve 70% to have accomplished it. You don't want to set your threshold so low that it's just terribly easy to accomplish them. Similarly, you don't want to set them too high such that few people will accomplish them. This is a judgment call on your part. You want students to accomplish your objectives. Similarly, you want them to pass your class. Try not to make those 2 items mutually exclusive. So for me, I've set greater than or equal to 70%, and I've saved. So back to this screen. This is my course objective. This is how it's being measured, and the item that it's connected to in the gradebook is called test total. And I'm just saving and closing that. Now I'm back on my gradebook, and I have my test total down here, and now I can view the statistics of this item by doing the click on the drop down arrow and going to a menu. So this would be a very useful screen to use, and you could see the data related to your students' performance on that item. At this moment, of course, there's nothing to show simply because the system needs a few more minutes to catch up with itself. On this screen, I've got class statistics, I've got user statistics. I could click on the individual user, and as soon as D2L refreshes a little bit, all of the people in the class would have a grade over here, and you'd be able to see some progress. In an ideal world, these things would be a little more instantaneous, but they're not. So that's one method of finding how to connect gradebook items to your assessments. Unfortunately, you can't choose these things as categories and do it that way. You have to do it the other way. I'm going to go ahead and do the same type of thing for my applications. Again, just to do it all over, I'm going to go to New Item. I'm going to do a calculated item. I'm going to call it Response Total. And I'm then going to choose my categories here for responses. And I am going to, all in one step, I'm going to come over here to Restrictions. I'm going to hide that item. I'm going to go to the next tab for Objectives. I'm going to associate this with the course objective that I like, which is number 3 for these items. Adding it. Now I'm going to tell it what kind of an assessment it is. It's a numeric assessment. It's required. I'm setting my threshold greater than or equal to 70%. Saving the item. Save and close. I'm going to do the third one, which is called the Applications. Calculated item. AP total. All my applications selected. I'm going to go to the restriction, hide the item, connect it to my course objective. In this case, it's going to be course objective number 1. Add and select, come over here to the right, drop down, add assessment, greater than or equal to 70%. Save, save and close. So now I have these 3 items. Each item corresponds to one course objective. Each item in the gradebook here represents a category of assignments. Just as one way of working with the gradebooks and connecting those to course objectives. I'll have a couple more videos to explain a couple of different mechanisms for doing this same work. Thanks, everybody.